Merry Christmas. You know that Christmas is a season. It lasts for 12 days, so I'm not late in saying Merry Christmas. I'm right on time. We're still in this Christmas season, and so I want to take us back for a moment to Christmas Eve. This picture illustrates the power of light. Notice the brightness of the altar and the soft glow of the candles in the pew candles. You see the light of the Christ candle coming from the candles there on the Advent wreath, the contrast that the light provides to the darkness of the sanctuary. And we recall these verses from the Gospel of John. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. The light of Christ is symbolized by our candles in worship, and also the symbol of the star, which shone over Bethlehem at the birth of Jesus. It is the light of this star that leads people to find Jesus, both then and now. It brings all who will believe in him. It especially brings close to God those whom others have called outsiders. And the light of the star brings boundless joy. Today, our Bible lesson brings us to the story of the Magi who travel by the light of the star, but they also travel by faith to find Jesus. Our key verse records the joy they feel when they reach their destination. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. I want us to reflect on the Magi's journey to Jesus and the light of the star that guides them. But I want us to go further, to ponder how the light of the star impacts our lives and continues to guide us today. On Christmas Eve, I illustrated the story of Jesus' birth with pictures of figures from an olive wood nativity scene. This nativity scene was made in the area around Bethlehem. And here we see the Magi on their journey by the light of the star. Now, there's a lot of speculation about just who these men were who followed the light of the star. We're not told a lot about them in the Gospel of Matthew. And we remember that it is only the Gospel of Matthew that even mentions the Magi. But I want us to think about what we do know about the Magi. We know that they had been watching the skies for the star. They knew of the prophecy and the promise of the great king to be born King of the Jews. They recognize the significance of the star when they see it, and they go to great lengths to follow its light. Now, they had been prepared to go on this journey. They have their gifts ready, just like I'm sure you all had your gifts ready and wrapped and under the tree waiting to give to people on Christmas. But they had the gifts already prepared. They knew that they would be going at some point. They desire above all else to find the place where the star originates, because they believe that there they will find this great promised king. These men want to worship him, to honor him, and offer him gifts. But the most important thing that we know about these men are that they are not Jews. They are not from the land of Bethlehem or anywhere nearby. They are outsiders. These travelers are the ones to honor Jesus. They worship him. The light of Christ, symbolized by the star, as seen in the story of the Magi, shows us that the light has always reached outsiders from the very beginning. The light of Christ has continued to grow, and its impact expands as the light reaches the dark places throughout our world and in our own hearts. Jesus Christ is a light for all. In the Gospel of Luke, which, by the way, makes no mention of the Magi, we hear the prophet Simeon utter words of prophecy and praise on seeing the child Jesus. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the presence of all peoples, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory to your people Israel. The light of Christ shines for all people because God sends Jesus for all people. Jesus Christ offers salvation to all who would receive him. Now we're using stars to symbolize this powerful and life-changing light. One of the artists that I have been very fond of since I was a child is Vincent van Gogh. And some of you may be familiar with his painting, Starry Night. I can't show it to you because of copyright, but if you know it, you can picture it in your minds. But Van Gogh wrote about the stars, and the first thing that he said is this: be clearly aware of the stars and infinity on high, then life seems almost enchanted after all. Those of us who attended Vespers, particularly as the year progresses and it was darker earlier, we would often remark and take notice of the moon and the stars. Our eyes are drawn to the heavens. And when we pay attention to creation, we are drawn to the Creator. We respond to the presence of God with awe and wonder, whether in the child Jesus or in the adult Jesus, who is our Savior. We kneel to honor and to worship Jesus Christ. In response to God's goodness and mercy and love, we offer our gifts, just as the Magi did all those years ago. For we are much like the Magi, aren't we? Watching the heavens, waiting for a sign of the light that comes only from God. In many ways, we are like the Magi, people waiting for the power of the light of Christ in us to save us, for his light to bring us healing and wholeness, for his light to bring peace and goodwill among all people. And then in the words of Van Gogh, the artist again, he writes, I know nothing with any certainty, but the sight of the stars makes me dream. My friends, lift your heads and consider the heavens that God has created. Look for the light of God's stars. Welcome the light of Christ into your life. And I urge us to welcome the light of Christ into our congregation. Stars are made to shine. We are made to reflect the light of Christ from within our dedicated lives of service and from within our community of faith. That's our calling, to allow the light of Christ to shine through us. I want to return us back to our sanctuary on Christmas Eve. In this picture, the sanctuary is even darker, and so the light makes a greater impact by contrast. And especially the light of the Christ candle is so bright in this picture as everything else is darker by comparison. You'll notice that the light of the Christ candle is burning in our sanctuary today. And we will take our stars, the symbol of that light, and hang them outside as a public witness to this always burning, always available light of Christ. We pledge ourselves to live in the light of our Savior and to allow his light to shine through Salem Church to the glory of God.